When we talk about worth and value, I paid union dues. I was an officer for almost 21 years. I've had 12 attorneys on my case from the union. There's never been an offer in compromise. There's never been an attempt to resolve this. There are no specified charges. There's no follow-up. Information was purposely left out of the record. A number of things have happened, and not in favor of me. So what was I paying for? Why am I not included in their mission statement? Why am I not included in the fact that we have all these layers of protection? And to the Black community, diversity is important, because we are the ones that want to be in contact with your children. We are the people that do want to help. But when we can't be retained because of the desperate treatment of the double standards, the police department begins to look predominantly white, as it did back in an era when the brutality was much more worse. Is that where we're going back to? Is that a place that you want to go back to? So if no one's willing to have this conversation, I am. I'm willing to have this conversation with Ed Markey. I'm willing to have it with Elizabeth Warren. I'm willing to have it with Marty Walsh. I'm willing to have it with anyone who wants to address these issues honestly and head on. We have a long way to go, but we've also come a long way. And I'm not going back. When I took that exam, I knew that I had the right to take it. I scored very high on the exam. I went into the police academy and I did well. I completed successfully. And when I got on the job, I found an area that I would be very good at. And that was working with children, family, students, doing mediations. And I did it. That's why I received accolades. So you ask yourself, how can this happen to a Black woman in the police department? And where do we go from there if the internal issues are not being addressed? If the internal issues are not being addressed, I would venture to say that the external issues are going to be just as challenging. This is my story, but it's also my life. Some of the story might seem to be convoluted, but it isn't. We've all experienced injuries. We all know the process entails being medically cleared before you return back to work. We all know this, whether you're a police officer or not. When he erroneously changed my status, arbitrarily, erroneously, he changed my status and took my wages. I went to the bank and said, I don't think my money's been deposited. I had to research to figure out that my money was being taken. At that point, someone should have stopped him. At that point, I could have even gone to the state and filed a claim. But I had to choose which battle. My battle at that moment was to make sure that I returned to work full duty, active full duty. And so I did. And once I returned back to work, I had to make another decision. I now want to just keep my head down, mind my business, do my work, and continue, because my goal was to finish my career. Retirement is 32 years. I was now at this point at almost 19 years. But because no one stopped him and held him accountable, they didn't hold him accountable, it spiraled. We went to hearings. There was no specificity of my charges. We went to what's called trial boards. They were saying that they were going to sustain charges that weren't even specified. I had 12 union attorneys, 12, in the course of 9 years. And right now, there's no process that could resolve this. There is yet another hearing due. That's been prolonged. But at the root of all of this, I was a juvenile officer. And I had superior officers that didn't support that position. And in a district where I lived, where this is being filmed, I almost got arrested on this very corner. All because of perception. All because there was a shooting on this street. And my presence was a threat to the people that were mishandling the crime scene. And because of their perception and their power and their ability to abuse their authority, they came after me unsuccessfully. And when someone comes after you unsuccessfully, and they have power, they have authority, they have connections, they can carry out a vendetta as long as they choose to. And they chose to carry it out. In a testimony, on a transcript, that person that wrangled my firearm can be quoted in saying that he received a phone call from a superior officer in this district that thought I was a problem. Not a problem that he can articulate, not a real problem because I never worked with him, but the perception that I was a problem. That perhaps I was paying attention to how they handled the crime scene. That was in 2003. It's now 2020. According to those calculations, I've been fighting for 17 years. When he grabbed my firearm, it was 2012. According to those calculations, it's been 8 years. This goes back to even 2010. The dates and the timeline are not as important as the message. The message is, I'm not going to be erased from the conversation. I'm not expendable. Make me whole and fix it.